week, we're watching What We Do in the Shadows. Follow the lives of Yago, Deacon, and Vladislav, three flatmates who are just trying to get by and overcome life's obstacles, like being immortal vampires who must feast on human blood. Hundreds of years old, the vampires are finding that beyond sunlight catastrophes, hitting the main artery, and not being able to get a sense of their wardrobe without a reflection, modern society has them struggling with the mundane, like paying rent, keeping up with the chore wheel, trying to get into nightclubs, and overcoming flatmate conflicts.
All right, witches, strap in, because if you haven't put this together yet, this movie is about to get spoiled. So get ready.
I'm Blaine. My house is covered in Halloween decorations at this moment, as it is April and we are in quarantine, so shut it. And I am drinking a very nice Russian Imperial Stout tonight.
My name is Stephanie, and I am drinking a Reunite Lambrusco, which we all love. I did a workout today in quarantine, and, staying a little bit active is important. So get out there and move your butt.
But don't get out there if there's other people out there.
No, fuck everything I said. Fuck it. Just go to bed.
No, my name's Emily, and I'm clearly struggling. I don't even have a dog.
So today we're doing something a little different. We all, safe to say, have very strong feelings about this film. And we thought, what better way to pay homage to it than by doing some of the lines ourselves and doing a pseudo-table read for you all. So we will be reading select portions of the film as the characters. Blaine will be playing the role of Viago. Stephanie, me, will be playing the role of Vladislav. And Emily will be playing the role of Deacon. And you'll get a sense of the other characters that we're taking on as it goes. Beep, 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 beep. It's 5:59 in the morning, and an alarm clock rings in a dark, dank room. A hand pops out of a coffin and pushes the snooze button, and then the coffin lurches open.
So it is 6 p.m. in the nighttime, which is when it is really scary part for me. Yes, nighttime. So now I'm going to wake up my flatmates. I really love living in a flatting situation. Wake up! Wake up, everyone! I like to hang out with other vampires. I like the company. Awaken! Awakey wakey! I just really like having a good time with my friends. Deacon! How was your night last night?
I transformed into a dog and had sex.
Oh. You're going to have a little flat meeting in the kitchen in about 15 minutes, okay?
Okay.
Okay. Should I close this?
Yes.
Vladislav? Sorry.
What?
Hey.
What time is it?
We're going to have a flat meeting in about 10 minutes.
20.
Oh, okay. Is there...
Slam.
So, we're in Peter's room. I'm just going to wake him up. Peter! Peter, wake up. Hey, listen, we're going to have a flat meeting upstairs in about 10 minutes. You don't have to come, but I thought I'd extend an invitation to you just in case. There's a lot of stuff on the floor down here, Peter, and like this, it seems... It's a spinal column. Yuck. And I was thinking maybe I just should bring a broom down here for you if you wanted to sweep up some of the skeletons. I don't know, maybe. Okay, I got you this chicken.
Is Peter coming? Should we wait?
Peter's 8,000 years old. We're not going to have Peter at the meeting. Okay, so I wanted to have a quick chat about flat responsibilities because, guys, I think we're not all pulling our weight up here. We're just not pointing the finger at you, Deacon. You're a cool guy, but you're not pulling your weight in a flat.
Well, I'm glad to hear that I'm cool.
No, that's not the point, though.
Yeah, it's not a flat meeting about how cool you are.
I do my flat chores.
No, you don't.
This is why we're having the flat meeting.
The point is, Deacon, that you have not done the dishes for 5 years.
Vladislav is right. It's unacceptable to have so many bloody dishes all over the bench like that.
I'm so embarrassed when people come over here.
What does it matter? Them over here, you kill them. Vampires don't do dishes.
Deacon's like the rebellious young vampire. He's always doing crazy things, like saying crazy things. He's just like the young bad boy of the group.
Okay, so one day I was selling my wares and I walked past this old creepy castle and I think, very old and creepy. And this creature just flies at me and dragged me back to his dungeon and bit me in my neck. And just at the point of death, this creature forced me to suck its foul blood. And then it opened its wings like this, hovered above me, screeching, ha ha ha! Now you are a vampire. And it was Peter. And we are still friends today.
Vlad, you were great. You put out the recycling, which is really cool.
And the other day, I dragged a man's body down the hallway and noticed there was no dust. Like, I kind of swept the hallway.
Vladislav is just like this older vampire who grew up in the medieval times. And, to be living this long and to have seen the things that he's seeing and still, like, kind of had it together. I mean, hats off to him. He's a really great guy. A bit of a pervert. He has some pretty old ideas about things.
We should get some slaves.
Yes.
When I first became a vampire, I was quite tyrannical. I was known for torturing a lot of people. This is my torture chamber. I don't come in here often anymore. I tended to torture when I was in a bad place. My thing was I would poke someone with implements. I was known as Vladislav the Poker.
Viago is a little pedantic.
The washing and the rubbish, I did that. Deacon, on the dishes. And it still hasn't moved in 5 years.
He was an 18th century dandy, so he can be very fussy.
He nags and nags.
The lounge the other day, there was blood all over my nice antique couch.
Which
The
one?
red one?
Well, it's red now, yeah. If you're going to eat a victim on my nice clean couch, put some newspaper on the floor and some towels. It's not hard to do.
We're vampires. We don't put down towels.
Some vampires do.
Well, not serious ones.
When you get 4 vampires in a flat, obviously there's going to be a lot of tension. There's tension in any flatting situation. It settles in. We all do our jobs, starting with a certain Deacon.
I will do my dishes.
Good, then do them.
This is bullshit.
You guys did such a great job.
I love
You guys did so
Deacon's
good.
story of how he met Peter.
Yes, and we're still
'Cause he's
friends
like-
today.
He's like describing this terrible scene. It's obviously Nosferatu. Peter is
It's
supposed
definitely an
to be
homage, at least, to Nosferatu.
like Vlad is Vlad, basically the Impaler, but he's not quite
Yes.
as badass, so he's Vlad
Yes.
the Poker.
But I also love that Deacon's character is just an older version of what would later be Nick's character.
In the character, I think it is Vlad, who says, well, I became a vampire when I was 16. That is why I always look 16. In those days, of course, life was tough for a 16-year-old.
Oh my
I have
god.
to tell you
so
guys,
good.
like, I'm such a sucker for those jokes where it's like they're really old, but then they're like, yeah, I'm 24. And I'm like, you are a shot 24
Oh, yeah.
year old.
I love it. I love it.
couple things I feel like we should cover. So this is
Mhm.
not a traditional horror movie, obviously.
No.
This is a dark comedy, and it's also shot in the pseudo documentary style. So it
Yes.
even opens with that screen of the New Zealand, what is it? The New Zealand Documentary
Documentary,
Council.
yeah.
It was produced by them.
Which is wonderful because like it gives it that real
Yes.
vibe to it. So it's following flatmates that are vampires, all of varying ages. Deacon's the youngest, he's 183. And then Peter's the oldest, he's 8,000. How old is Viago? I don't right.
I think
Viago.
Viago is.
Diego's a dandy, so he's like 1890s.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he might be the second, and then Vlad is the closest to Peter.
They introduced the characters with this flat meeting where there's a chore wheel involved. And I just want to take a minute and appreciate the chore wheel.
Yes.
Oh
Oh,
my
it's
God,
in bubble
it was made
letters.
10 years ago with crayons and just the best
Beautiful.
you could do with construction paper.
He did bubble letters for everybody's
Bubble
name.
letters. What I really like is that before this movie, I didn't really know who Taika Waititi was.
I think this was his breakout.
I think so.
Flight of the
Cool.
Conchords.
Flight of the Conchords, that's
Of
it.
course.
Yeah.
We're all bringing a lot to the table with this movie because we adore this.
After the scene that we have, this opening scene, basically you get a sneak peek into their flat, dusty, dirty old flat, and they're trying their best to keep it clean. They're trying to like keep busy with knitting and all kinds of stuff, but it's truly
Yes,
like,
I love that they knit.
oh, Deacon is the knitter.
You also find out that he was a Nazi vampire, which is, in his words, not good. No way.
I love that they are all playing German vampires.
Yes,
Well, except for
yes.
Vladislav. If you're thinking about their past lives, they had to have been shipped somewhere. And at
right.
the time in history, New Zealand was just like a nothing, like unheard of island, basically.
Yeah. Vlad followed a lady there. Catherine, he was supposed to be sent there, but his old assistant actually
He
put the
did.
wrong postage on the box and sent him like a weird ass way. It took 18 months. And by the
He
time he got to
did.
New Zealand, she was remarried, which seems fast.
Yeah.
But even 18 months to be married to someone else already, like, bitch.
In those times, though, like your
I
clock
know,
was
she's like-
ticking.
That's actually one of the first scenes that you go into after the intro where Viago is trying on a locket, a silver
Oh my
locket
God.
that Catherine gave him
Ugh.
that has her picture in it, and then he put his in it so they can be looking at each other, and he puts it on his chest, and they do a really good job at following a good bit of the lore for vampires in this
Yeah.
one. And it
Well,
burns
throughout
him.
the entire movie too.
Oh, yeah.
They do such a beautiful job.
And it was really cute to see him try his hardest to keep it on. And he's like, that's as far as I can go. And he
That's
just,
about
like,
as
takes-
long as I can bear that.
Yeah, because it was
Yeah.
pure silver. I'm such
Yeah.
such a sweetheart.
So after that, that's the scene where they go into the Wellington downtown district.
Ugh, so good.
But also, like, this is when we learn that all of their clothes come from their victims.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they just
cute.
like mix and match, like basically army pants with like blouses from the 1800s.
Yago
Beautiful.
says, we might bite someone and think, ooh, those are some nice pants.
Vladislav is
Got
just
you.
like me because he gets so mad when Viago tries on camo pants and he's like, no, change it. When you
You
are a
think, oh, this
vampire,
is-
you become very sexy.
Gestures to himself, like obviously.
Vladislav says, I go for a look which I call dead but delicious. We are the bait, but we are also the trap. And then Viago says, hello, ladies.
That's my favorite.
They mentioned the beginning credits that there's like the unholy masquerade.
Yes.
That's like the whole catalyst
Yes.
that they're looking forward to. So it's
Yeah,
gonna be
so,
like a
like,
ton
this-
of supernatural shit at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like this whole thing is leading up to the unholy ball. So you're kind of just getting a feel for everybody up until then, and you get a lot of history. And then there's just a little tiny bit at the end that's the after effects.
Yeah.
good.
Can we talk about quickly though, if we had to assign each other vampires from this movie, what our personalities would be in terms of these characters?
Well, we're all sexy. I'll give us that.
I think everyone's a good combo, which I know is such a fucking cop-out answer.
But that's how shows and movies are. Like they
Yes.
polarize these characters to really define them.
Yeah.
So
I
I
think
think you feel like, because I feel like it's obvious.
Me,
Yes.
I'm definitely Viago.
Yes. Done.
I
Easy.
feel like I'm a swearwolf because I like to party, but then I also get really anxious and nervous about things.
Yeah.
And you are so golden hearted. That vibe is so strong with the werewolves, which I love.
Yes.
I-
And then there was supposed to be a follow-up movie to this movie
Oh, I
about
wish.
the werewolves specifically.
Has
Well,
that
let's
been
watch the fuck out of
nixed
that.
or
No, I think
I
that's
don't
been
know.
nixed. Yeah.
But the
Oh,
guy
man.
who plays the main swearwolf, thank you.
Anton.
He is also in Flight of the Conchords. He's another carryover from
And
that
also,
cast.
if you want a more current reference, only because I just watched this in Jumanji, the one with the Rock, that's not as good as the original Jumanji. He is the guy that's like the pilot that takes them in and out of the game.
Shut the fuck up.
they're in downtown Wellington and they're like, let's
Yeah.
go out. We're going to go out. That's when you meet Jackie, who is the familiar of your character, Deacon.
I think I'm a good combo of these two characters, honestly,
Mhm.
as a personality. So Jackie is his familiar, which I don't love that term, by the way, familiar
Yeah.
in this movie. I do think that's the one term that they got wrong. I would say that she's a minion. Familiar in witchcraft is like a spiritual guide that can manifest in the form of an animal or a person.
I was gonna say,
or
I thought
something
usually
like
it was an animal.
Absolutely. So like Harry Potter, when you like
Mhm.
bring an animal, that's like a nod to it. And a lot of like modern witches will say that their pets are their familiars and things of that nature. But anyway, I don't love that term in this movie.
Yeah.
But also you got to take it lightly. But she's like a minion basically, and she's working for free for Deacon, but really for the entire flat as basically they're like slave to do
Yeah.
whatever the fuck that they want. I mean,
Yep.
that's not the right term at all.
Because
But-
she's gonna get turned is her goal.
Right. His promise is that he will turn her into a vampire, which like you get the impression that he has no intention.
Oh yeah.
Of
He just wants
doing.
her to do shit for him forever.
Right. I've read like in reviews that her character was supposed to be a representation of like sexism in vampire lore, of how it's like always a man.
Oh my god, that's so cool.
So at one point in the movie, she's like ironing their clothes, and she's
Yep.
like, I could tell you this right now: if I had a penis, I'd be a vampire by now.
He's like, can you find some virgins? And he's like, definitely younger than you. She's like, okay, so between 20 and 30. Hypnosis, they can do that, which is a pretty standard vampire trope. They cut to a scene where she takes his clothes to a laundromat and says her
Oh,
She has to make all those excuses. Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
that they're
my husband's a
hemophiliacs.
hemophiliac. So he bleeds a lot, and then she like winks at the camera like she's fucking slick. I also
No.
love when they talk about like why virgins.
So this is the scene where now Jackie, the familiar / minion, has brought two people, Nick and another girl, over to the flat for them basically to be eaten. And the guys are like, we're gonna make you dinner. So they bring in this disgusting Chef Boyardee cans
my
of
God.
noodles. And then they convince Nick, they hypnotize him to think that the noodles are worms. They're talking about why they want them to be virgins.
oh yeah.
So Nick, are you a virgin at all?
Question is, are you a virgin at all? Like, not
At
just
all.
like,
Like, a
like,
little
not
bit.
any
like a
sense of the
little?
word.
Nick, are you a virgin at all?
What?
You were a virgin when we were seeing each other.
Yeah, I was 12.
You said he was a virgin. I think we drink virgin blood because it sounds cool.
I think of it like this. If you're going to eat a sandwich, you would just enjoy it more if you knew no one had fucked it.
Do you like biscotti?
I usually like it, but it'd be better if it was warm.
So, this is my favorite trick. We present our guest with a plate of biscotti, and then I say, why don't you eat some biscotti? Please, Nick, eat some biscotti. I didn't realize you enjoyed eating worms, Nick.
No! The worms. The worms are around my plate. Like, worms, like, but not actually. There's worms around my plate. I stole that idea from the Lost Boys, but I put a nice twist on it.
How does it feel to have a snake for a penis?
Jackie, my penis has disappeared. It's a cobra snake.
No one's gonna mistake your penis for a cobra, Nick, okay?
What'd you put in my biscotti?
No, it's just a normal penis.
I'm out.
Josephine, do you like biscotti?
Look, these freaks spiked my biscotti, turned my cock into a snake. It's not cool. You don't think this is weird? For fuck's sake! Jackie! What are you doing? Jackie, shit! Fuck off! Get out of here, freaks! Ah! Oh no!
Oh no, Peter got him.
Poor guy.
Who let Peter out?
Now we cut to 2 months later, and
Yep.
Nick is now a vampire, and he
Oh.
is knocking on their window. And that's also an homage to Salem's Lot.
The way he talks about how he becomes a vampire is like, I had a massive gash on my neck, like a blood all over the top. And I was really hot or really cold, like hangover times 10, I reckon. The best line is he says, except the only difference would be that my eyes bleed heaps.
Heaps! How much they bleed? Heaps.
Heaps.
I also love that when they find the vampires in 3 months, Deacon is performing an erotic dance for his
Yep.
friend in the
Yep.
flat, and they're also appearing to have like a romantic picnic
Yep.
on the floor while watching it, which is
Adorable.
really kind, I
To
think.
be fair, if it was the three of us as vampires, we would be doing the exact same
We
thing.
already do that.
Here
It
is
would-
where I'm trying to make my argument for like becoming a vampire because
I
there are
think-
no downsides.
Hey guys, I just want to take a second and talk about the Graveyard Gallery. They're an incredible Etsy shop that was founded in 2018. They have custom masks, they have display busts, and they have custom shirts for their growing clothing line. Right now, I'm looking at an 8-bit Jason Voorhees Part 7 Friday the 13th bust, and it is amazing. You guys got to get over to his Etsy shop. Check it out. It's the Graveyard Gallery. You won't be disappointed.
When Nick comes to the window, he says, I was doing an erotic dance with my friends and you ruined it.
I just appreciate the overall bromance of this movie is just adorable, and it's so appreciated, and it's ahead of its time if we're being completely honest.
Oh, yeah.
Also, I would really like to take this time to address that New Zealand has such a special place in the realm of horror. It's not always included in American releases. New Zealand is consistently churning out horror movies. So like on Shudder right now, there is a documentary called Spookers, and it is about people who work a haunted attraction, and it's like their whole lives, and like they'll leave their jobs 9 to 5 or whatever, and they'll just like go into this wholeheartedly. There's also another one that came out I think last year. It's about basically a wild boar that is like 18 times the normal size of a wild boar, and like it's a horror movie based on like people it attacks, and it's hilarious, but it's also like one of those creature features you can't miss. It is so good.
We meet Stu, who is the reddest guy they know,
Mm.
and Nick used to date his sister, but now they're just friends.
I love
And
that
they-
so much. Stu was also named Stu, like in real life, that's just his name.
Yeah.
So I feel like he's just that dude. Like he probably works on computers.
And they go to a nightclub they're able to get into because Nick has a friend that's the bouncer who invites them in. Again,
Mhm.
they're totally hitting on all the points here. First time that I felt confident and I went to a club, I feel like I was Viago in that moment. Like, so excited to be in the club.
We're at Boogie Wonderland.
Boogie Wonderland. Oh, yeah, that's where they went. They went to Boogie
But like
Wonderland.
I identify so much with that because
Mhm.
Viago, first of all, Viago also hasn't been around a lot of people, doesn't have a lot of friends. Like the reason he sought out roommates is to have friends. I'm also one of those introverted people who is definitely not in search of friends on the reg. When I go out and I'm having fun, I am so excited to be there, and I'm like, "Wer Boogie Wonderland."
Boogie Wonderland.
So when I was in college, my freshman year of college, I was dating a guy that went to St. John's, so I spent most of my time on their campus, and there was a Russian exchange student named Maxim, and
Ooh.
Maxim was a goddamn delight. And I had my first New York City Halloween that year,
Oh.
and Maxim came along with us. And
What
just
year was
kept-
that?
That was 2010. Maxim really just kept asking to go to discotheques. We at the end of the night we ended up on back on campus, and his pockets had been full of dishwashing liquid, or not liquid but like powder, and he just thrust them into the fountain on campus casually. Like that was his goddamn plan the
What?
fucking night. And this is New York City, so bars closed at 4 a.m. So this was like 4 a.m. and he had just hoarded pockets of just like Tide or Dawn or whatever the fuck it was,
Why?
so that he could have a foam discotheque party.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it was a delight. Maxim, if you're out there, Viago reminds me of Maxim from Russia that I went to college with for a year in New York City. Hello, Maxim.
I love the idea of vampires that use their power for good, essentially.
Yeah.
And there's a scene, and like we don't go into it, but there's two little girls that they're probably
Yeah.
returned at like the age of like maybe they're 15, and
that.
maybe a little younger, maybe 13. As the guys are going to the club, they pass these two girls, and the girls are basically like saying they're gonna get some pedophiles tonight. And I'm like, oh my
Yes.
god, I love this.
They're like, you want to
Justice.
get some perverts?
Some
No,
perverts,
it's so
perverts.
beautiful, and it's like so incognito, and
Then after they're leaving the club, this is also when we meet the werewolves, not werewolves. So there are werewolves and there are vampires in this movie, and these guys are very nerdy.
I can smell werewolves.
Okay, we're about to walk past some werewolves. Some shit might go down.
Look out, guys. Don't catch any fleas. What's that, mate? Keep walking. Keep going. What? You heard that, mate? Have ya? What are you filming? Some kind of music video, isn't it? Do I have your heckles up, huh? Why don't you girls go smell your own crotches?
We don't smell our own crotches. We smell each other's crotches, and it's a form of greeting.
It's okay, because I know this guy. It's Count Fagula. Hey. We don't swear. What are we? We're werewolves, not swearwolves. It's a very offensive word to call people. Well, at least you're talking about a bundle of sticks. There's that bundle of sticks, you werewolves. No, don't get it. It's not real. Why the fuck do you do that for? Don't swear.
hey, don't swear.
Hey. Do the breathing. Count to 10, mate. Come on, hold it. Count to 10, human again. Count to 10, human again. It's all right. It's not a full moon. Enjoy your night, yeah. You should be ashamed, you bastards.
Say it, don't spray it, bitch. Then they talk to Stu about how those were actually werewolves.
Yes. So
And
Stu
then
point is totally unaware that anything supernatural is happening.
nope. And
Because
then
he's like been put
And
under
bless
hypnosis
Stu.
whenever they talk about it.
And then Nick is basically telling Stu, here's how he says, Stu, I don't really know how to approach this because I've never done it before. I don't want to break that friendship, but then again, what do you do when someone tells you they're a vampire? I'm expecting him to be angry, he might be scared, and expecting a lot of things to bubble to the surface. So Stu, you probably noticed I've been going through a few changes lately. I don't show up for lunch anymore.
Yeah,
I've changed all of our tennis games to nighttime tennis games.
right.
And how you went from beating me every time and how I won the last 3.
Yeah.
The reason I brought you here is to tell you that I'm a vampire. Stu took it pretty well. He's definitely my best mate, and I'm not going to eat him. If they ever offer you biscotti, you shouldn't eat it. Vampire mates don't eat human mates. And no matter how much I want to eat him, I will never eat him because he's my mate. Right, Stu?
Yeah.
Stu's great.
Stu is the best character.
Stu is showing them technology. This is amazing.
I love this so much because I've watched this movie like 100 times at this point. The first time I watched this, I was like, that's dumb. They would be aware of technology. But when you think about it, they're hundreds of years old. They probably have a lag of like 20 years.
Right?
Stu shows them porn, which I love.
He shows them porn. He shows them too, like I love how he tries to explain Google to them. He's like, anything in the world that you want, it's at your fingertips. Iago's like, I lost a beautiful silk scarf back in 1912. And he's like he's like, okay, Google it. Like, find my scarf.
And then he says, can we see a movie with a sunrise? And they're like, what shit? And then he says, if you push images, you can see pictures of virgins. And then Vlad says, I don't think she's a virgin if she's doing that. And it's like, obviously, it's fucking porn. It's so cute. And then this is the scene where they call Philip. So Philip is
Viago's old
servant.
Mm-hmm.
And it's adorable because Philip is like fucking almost 100 years old.
He's 90.
He's 90. And basically, Viago was supposed to turn him, and Philip fucked up the shipping, as we said, and got lost Viago, his true love, Catherine, because he was in a boat for 18 months.
I also love, this is the scene where Vlad gets introduced to Facebook, and he's like, okay, so you can see all of her photos, or you can poke her, and his eyes light up, and he's like, yes,
poke her. You're seeing Nick going out, and he is referring to himself as Twilight, not as Edward from Twilight, just as Twilight.
The most specific he goes, the main guy in Twilight, that's me. Yeah. Viago goes to visit Catherine.
Oh yeah, he goes to see her.
To her retirement facility or her apartment, and he just like stands outside of her window and watches her, and she's clearly like a little old lady. And then he goes to bed and he masturbates in his coffin. Which I just think it's
so
such a
great.
good touch.
Yes.
He like lays down, he like touches a picture of Catherine and like closes his coffin, and then it's just like
bump, 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 bump.
and you see his
Yes!
coffin like a bumping, which is just beautiful.
I think this is the most I've ever been able to possibly relate myself to a vampire because they're
acting?
so human. Like they're
Yeah.
not like just fucking sexy as fuck. Any number of characters, they're like, these are the most human vampires ever. Twilight!
Shut up, Nick. You're not Twilight.
What's your problem?
You are my problem. Telling the world we are vampires.
And I'll tell the whole world you're an asshole now.
Shut up.
Shut up!
Guys!
No, you shut up.
No, you shut up! I'm Dracula,
shut up.
man!
You're
I'm
not
Dracula.
Dracula. You don't even know who Dracula is, you idiot.
Oh, bat fight! Bat fight, yeah, Deacon! That wasn't fair, man. My fucking jacket, man!
I don't care about your stupid jacket.
Deacon!
You okay, man? Hey, Stu! So the scene where Vladislav says bat fight, and then he like does a motion as if he's praising the sky, and he's like, bat
so
fight!
good. I mean, there's no question that this is one of the top 3 moments of the film.
Yes.
Him screaming bat fight. And then it folds into, which is, again, a top moment where they're in a diner or something with like a lot of wood paneling in it for some reason.
Yes.
And they're eating French fries or chips. And the newest vampire, Nick, is like, I'm going to indulge and have a chip. And I think is it Viago who's like, I wouldn't do that. Okay, so they're like, don't do it. And then he eats one and then is smash cut to projectile vomiting blood.
After Nick has his chips, he starts throwing up, but like to the tune of traditional Irish music.
How did I not hear that?
Irish
at all?
drinking music. It's
So
beautiful because they time it so that just as Nick starts to spew, the music starts.
I also love that he gets so curious. He's like, I ate a chip. I can't eat salads. I can't sunbathe. I can't watch daytime TV. And then he's like, well, I could.
I just start thinking of Leslie Knope, where it's like, can't make a good soup. Can't. Like,
Yep. So Travis loves chips. My husband loves chips. Every single time I give him potato chips, I'm like, can't even eat chips. I can't even eat chips. My favorite food, because that's what Nick says. Like, these quotes of this movie are so integral to my daily life.
But I think it's worth noting that you are the only person alive who has made these quotes integral to your daily life.
I am honored to have that responsibility and role.
I don't know. I feel like we all yell at least at each other, bat fight.
So Deacon is talking to Jackie, and he's basically telling him like,
I was gonna turn you tonight.
Yeah, he was like, I was gonna make you a vampire. And then she's all pissed because like she's just cleaning, and he's like, "There's blood everywhere. It is gruesome." It's just like,
so yeah. Well, and this is when it's revealed to Jackie that Nick has been transformed.
Yeah,
she's like, I thought you killed him 2 months ago.
Basically, Peter, all of a sudden you wake up and you hear everybody is screaming, and then apparently Peter has been set on fire by someone. Or like sunlight was let into the basement, and Peter's on fire. And the line is, as Vladislav is running towards the documentary crew, who is not helping. He says, "Turn that thing off. Our friend has just been killed in a fatal sunlight accident."
Fatal sunlight accident.
That's what I call every time I go in the sun.
Yep. Well, I'm allergic to the sun. I'm not convinced that I'm not a vampire. Hear me out.
So, no, you definitely are. That's why I'm attracted to you.
Wait, are you allergic to the sun also?
Yes. I have something called photosensitivity.
Okay.
Where if I'm in direct sunlight for more than 2 hours, crystals form in my joints. What? And it makes it impossible for me to move without excruciating pain.
Twilight.
The police officers come because they're like, we're hearing a large amount of shrieking because Deacon and Vlad and are like, they're all having a fight basically because Peter's dead. Nick
Peter
is basically
also shrieking pretty aggressively.
Oh yeah, and they find out that Nick basically was told a vampire hunter at the club that they were vampires, and the vampire hunter came and killed Peter. So it's his fucking fault. So the police come,
100%.
and I love that they're like, the first thing they say, "I'm Constable O'Leary. This is Constable Minogue, just responding to a report of a forced entry and a large amount of shrieking."
In a large amount.
And then they like give them safety tips as they're like, so they're hypnotizing them the whole way through the house because obviously there's dead bodies, there's like blood everywhere, there's a fucking vampire dead. So they hypnotize them just enough that as they're touring them, the only thing they see are like the safety hazards.
Minor infractions.
Yeah, and Deacon's like, should we kill them? And Vladislav is like, no, let's see what other safety tips they have before we kill them.
And then we'll
Maybe they have other safety tips. And
so amazing.
Yeah, it's the best. And then what else? Then we get to the scene where
and Vlad also, or not Vlad, Viago also mentions, he's like, I'm not really good at hypnotizing people, so this could wear off at any second. So they keep like faking you out where they zoom in on something like either a dead body or like dead bones.
Yep.
As opposed to live bones. And like someone floating on the ceiling, and they're like, do you see what I see? No fire alarms. Like it's just perfect the entire time. Not a smoke alarm.
They do such a beautiful job.
I love the cops.
They really do. They find a dead body in the basement. They're like, he's drunk. And he's like, that's what I thought. You should put a blanket on him. That concrete slab.
It's cold, mate. It's cold. He's not having a good time.
Back when O'Leary and Minogue first arrive at the door, of course, Viago is the one to respond. And he brings them in and they go up the stairs. And one of them comments, what an odd smell. Like it smells really strongly in here. And Viago just goes, it's the barbecue.
Yes. You will not see anything out of the ordinary. Well, I hope not. And he's like, shit.
It's so good. It's so good.
Oh my God.
The cops leave. So should we start at, I call into session this trial of Nick of Wellington?
I call into session this trial of Nick of Wellington.
Read the charges.
Problems we have with Nick. Number 1, you brought a human into our house, which is a big no-no in the vampire world.
Jew is okay though.
Yes, Stu's fine.
So I guess we'll just cross that one out.
Thank you.
So the number 1, Nick's been telling people he's a vampire. That in turn resulted in the unwanted visit from a vampire hunter. Crime number 2, this is quite a biggie, Nick. The vampire hunter who killed Peter. That actually should have been crime number 1, but we wanted to build up to that. Crime number 3, Deacon doesn't like that you wear the same jacket as him, and he would like that you find your own original style. For these crimes, which we, the Vampire Council, find you guilty, you should be banished from our flat indefinitely.
Indefinitely? So I can't come back?
No.
Indefinitely means there is no end.
I thought there was no, but it's not long, right? Like could be tomorrow, could be 6 months, right?
No, it's not tomorrow.
You get at least 6 months.
But still, you can visit if you like.
For your crimes, you will need to be suffer in the procession of shame.
I asked them, Dick. I asked them not to pass that sentence.
You didn't ask. You were saying yes.
I still think it's quite extreme. Let us do the procession of shame.
Shame.
Shame. Bad vampire. Bad. Should we ghost you?
Bust you.
Okay, so then Nick is gone. Nick has been banished and shamed. They get the invitation to the big event of the year. And I love how they are so excited that they burned the edges like a treasure map so it looks authentic.
Yes. Oh my God.
And they say that it starts at 6 and it's on the 6 like 666. So they're like, oh, 666 for the undead community of Wellington. And there's zombies and
it starts off the dearly departed, which I love, and he's like, that's us.
Yep, and then there's zombies and vampires and banshees, so it's like a big dance. And I love
fun thing.
And Viago says that he
Right?
dressed as Whoopi Goldberg from Sister Act 1 and 2.
Oh
And
my
it didn't
god.
go down so well because she was a nun. And he says vampires don't like nuns.
The cutest thing that he consistently tries to be as inappropriate as possible.
He's so cute.
It's revealed that Vlad thinks that he's going to be the guest of honor
Right.
at the masquerade, and he's like I don't know if I should say this, but I heard that I may be the guest of honor, and he's like trying on masks and is like really proud of himself, and it's super cute.
Yep.
And then
Yep.
immediately they read in the invitation that it is not him. Not only is it not him, it is the Beast,
His arch nemesis.
his arch nemesis / ex-girlfriend.
They still don't tell you who the Beast is. All these scenes where he's like talking about the battles he had with the Beast,
Horrific.
and I fought the Beast on a cliff. I fought the Beast in a swamp. I fought the Beast in the toilets of a nightclub. And he says, "Get your hands off my balls, you beast."
There's
Yeah.
like a little bit of CGI, which the movie doesn't use a lot of.
Oh
So when he's reading that the Beast is the guest of honor, Vlad has this like crazy vein in his forehead that goes fucking nuts
Yep.
and gets like all big and crazy. And it also is like fighting the Beast. Is that just fucking?
Yes.
The great battle he lost is erectile dysfunction.
Oh.
Or just like dominance.
Because I also have a theory, which I forgot to mention this earlier, and I apologize, but we meet Deacon while he's literally in a closet.
Yep.
And I wonder,
Oh yeah, for sure.
right?
I also think there's a part of him
Ooh.
that like is not only jealous of Nick, but wants to be
Yeah.
with Nick.
Viago, I feel like, would be bisexual. I don't know why.
He is just happy to be loved wherever he is loved.
He's a
And
sweet
maybe
little
I'm
man.
just like projecting.
And Peter's just like, I will suck whatever comes my way. Chicken, man. As they go to the scene, this is the one that I really like. The quote, Vlad is sad that and upset that he is not the one who's like the spotlighted guest. They go to him and they're like getting dressed. And they're like, should we wear these pants? And he's like, turns around and he looks like this
It's
is
just pants.
really good makeup that they did.
yes.
He hasn't eaten in a while because he's like bummed and he needs to eat, so he looks like insane, like really old, like he's dying. And they're like, if you just eat someone on the way, just leave me to do my dark bidding on the internet.
What are you bidding on?
I'm bidding on the table.
So then they finally get to the Cathedral of Despair and the Unholy Masquerade. So it's revealed that Nick has turned Jackie, who is Deacon's familiar, into a vampire.
Which
At the
really
Unholy
interesting there because she fucking abandoned his ass.
Yeah, she did. Like, she still does seem excited to see him, which is like heartbreaking and sweet, but because I would be like, look, bitch, guess who has fangs now, you blood-sucking motherfucker?
Yeah.
She, in the interactions where you see her basically doing everything for them, but she has kids and a husband, and she's like a super good mom. They're at the Kurori Vampire Society. This is where we meet Pauline Ivanovich, who is the Beast. Vlad says, I gave this name to my ex-girlfriend, Pauline. She prefers Pauline.
The Beast.
We had a very intense relationship. We were very sexually explosive. The last time I saw her, she impaled me and called me an asshole. And she said all kinds of things that really hurt me. All of this while I was impaled on a lamppost.
Which honestly, like, same.
They thought it was a good idea to bring Stu to this. Of course Nick did. As a +1. And they're like, are you a demon? Are you a male witch? Are you a zombie? And they're like, no, he's none of the things. He's human.
Like, he's not vampire. No, he's not. And then, meanwhile, he's like, are you pre-deceased?
Yes!
There's also a moment, too, like, right before this, where they're dancing, and then they look over to a mirror, and there's only, like, 2 people on the dance floor, and one of them is Stu.
Oh, my God.
Because it's the
amazing.
reflection.
The Beast and Stu and Deacon and Vladislav get into, and Viago, they get into like a fight sort of because they're like, you brought a human and we have to eat him. And they're like, this is totally a misunderstanding.
Just in case he's a Van Helsing or something.
And then he says he's not going to do that. And then they say, how do we know that? And then Deacon says, he's wearing a bow tie. Look at him.
Look at him.
Dude,
It's
tell them what you
adorable.
do. Stu proceeds to tell them how he's like a computer engineer, like a geographic information system analyst. Pauline, the Beast, says he's a virgin. He's a virgin after he's talking about his job.
We take business requirements, we analyze them, we put it in software, and they're like, okay, this guy has never fucked. The lad
Comes
rolls
back.
in not one but two bumpets in his hair.
The 90s Gary Oldman Dracula.
Yes, baby.
Oh,
He's wearing this beautiful Venetian mask, and he's like, have you forgotten your former lover so quickly? Jardine. He's like, no, that was like 5 years after.
and he says, hello, Beast. And she says, hello, asshole. And then they get like really upset at each other, and you can tell that they had like a really tough relationship. They go into a bargain about who's gonna eat the cameraman.
Yes.
You
Would
can eat
you
him.
be very upset if Stu was eaten today?
And he's like, well, I would rather not. Finally, so Stu impales the zombie who is hanging out with Pauline, aka the Beast.
Right.
And then they leave and they run away.
During that fight, it's quiet, but I'm a deaf bitch, so I watch everything with subtitles. And you see that Viago goes, vampire fight!
They meet the favorite characters of, I think, this whole film, the swearwolves.
And they're tying themselves up because it is, guess what? A full-ass moon.
He's like, keep chaining yourselves up. And then he says, where's your tracksuit pants? And the guy says, it was washing night. The missus couldn't wash them because there was too much blood on them.
Well, and then I love too, there's like several issues. There's the one guy who tries to tie himself to a tree that is far too small. And
Yeah,
you get when you transform.
Yeah.
And then the one guy forgets the combination to his lock. That's when the vampires happen upon this gaggle of werewolves. And then the moon starts peeking out from behind the clouds. And they're like, the guy in the bow tie, he's going to go first. And we've established that the guy in the bow tie is, in fact, Stu. They start convulsing. I love watching a transformation in horror movies. But this was exceptionally... I like the leaping into a werewolf. That's my favorite aesthetic.
I like a silver bullet.
I really like a sudden transformation. Like, there's something that triggers you, especially during that right moment in the moonlight where it's like, oh, fuck, all you got to do is think about somebody stiffed you today, and that's it.
Somebody had to work on every element of this change.
Yeah, that's true.
And to me, that is so cool because it's like, what a cool fucking job. All the werewolves transform. They're attacking everybody. Stu, apparently, we think he's dead.
So the hill where they have the run-in with the werewolves is the same hill that in the Lord of the Rings, Fellowship with the Ring, is where Frodo and the hobbits are running from the Black Rider and hiding under that willow tree. So that's the same tree that is referenced, yes, in Lord of the Rings. I hiked this park years and years ago. This was like not far away from the hostel that I worked at. It is fucking stunning. I had one other fun fact. So the scene where they're in the diner with the chips, that scene was the most expensive scene in the movie.
Why?
Because they edited out the reflection of all the vampires in the table of the diner with CGI.
Oh my gosh.
That is the level of detail.
While this is meant to be a mockumentary style, kind of funny, campy, but also they're taking it seriously enough to make sure they're good up on their facts.
Yeah. Who noticed?
Besides us, who the fuck would notice? To me, the most real scene of the whole movie, Stu, who is Nick's best friend, has been apparently disemboweled by werewolves.
Disemboweled.
And Deacon and Nick find each other and they are okay and they sit. And then Deacon goes on this kind of a monologue about people dying in silly ways. Someone made a mask out of crackers and was attacked by ducks. Then he says, or dying of old age. Old age is brutal. Watching your friends grow old. They can't piss. They say stupid shit and their brains go and they can't remember. And then one day they can't remember who you are and you wish they were dead and then they die. And especially because having people that in my family, multiple people who died from like fucking Alzheimer's. He was funny at the beginning and then it got really real.
Thing. I feel like once you see multiple generations making the same goddamn mistakes and the fact that we're still fighting like racism, I would just start eating people.
Yeah.
I think I would pull a full Superman in the reboot comics where he's like, humanity's not worth saving. Like, I would definitely get to that point of like, why do you keep voting against your own healthcare, idiots? Can we talk about how it's the cops that find Stu's body?
Yes.
And he's like, it's some sort of like dog attack. That's what happens when they're strays.
Yeah, this is the culprit. And it's like the sweet little dog. They're like, yeah, he's probably gonna have to be put down. And the dog's like,
The female officer from earlier is like, it's happening on a monthly basis. So you're like, bitch, you know that it's the full moon.
like a duck hunting looking dog. It's so cute.
And they make him look at the dead body.
Yeah, like you did this. Bad.
It's so good. And then they cut to Deacon watching the sunrise on a laptop because it's something that Stu taught him how to do, which I think is really.
And then Viago's like, Deacon, the sun is coming up. You have to go to bed. And
it also shows that Vlad is torturing again.
Oh,
because
yeah,
he's
that's
in a
true.
dark place.
He's
So
in a dark
torturing.
place. They're sensitive
Yeah,
vampires.
they're all feeling it hard.
You hear a knock on the door. You see a very scratched up looking scar on his face, fucking Harry Potter Stu. Alive. It took a while for him to be back to health because he was all fucked up. And then you see actually a flashback as he's explaining that he was bitten, but he didn't die.
Oh, that's right. Yep.
He jumps off the gurney that they were taking him to the hospital on. And the cops are like, oh, where'd this guy go? I guess the dog, the little tiny cute dog must have ate him or something. and then all of his swearwolf mates follow him into the flat. Deacon is wearing a fucking sweater he knitted that is of a full moon and a tree. And they're like, did you make that? And he's like, yeah, I did make this. Oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
I also love the reenactment of how they found Stu, and they're all naked. Mm-hmm. And he's like, they found me, and they were supporting me because I was quite confused.
Viago has like this little baby monologue. We were worried at first. We thought, oh, they're just going to urinate on everything. But they actually are really polite and very clean. There was obviously the werewolf smell, which permeated the entire house for the first half an hour. But we opened some windows and we got rid of that. Then Stu first suggested the idea. I thought, no way. Walking into the vampire's den, that's ludicrous.
Fig leaf of like the Arabs versus the Jews.
So while Stu is at the house, it is revealed that Catherine has been transformed into a vampire.
Yep,
and is now living in joy with her very old husband.
And he says,
they think, what's this 96-year-old lady doing with a guy 4 times her age?
I know what I give this movie in terms of a rating. Bat fights. How many bat fights?
How many bat fights?
If I have to do 10 out of 10, I'll do it. But if I could do 11, I would. It's not scary, but it's my kind of movie. It's funny. It's on the nose. It's tongue-in-cheek. It fits the stereotype of what a vampire movie should be, but it's so different, and I'm cool with it.
So I'm going to give it 8 out of 10.
Nice.
It covers all the bases of a documentary, and it really subtly attacks some very sensitive material that comes up in this line of storytelling. But also it withstands time. You know, I think that's really something we should consider, is that moving forward, while it may not be super apparent in our mind, the progressive stance of this movie really withstands, and it is not only withstanding, it's entertaining. So I'm really excited to see how future generations interpret this movie.
I'm going to give it a 9. A 9. Solid 9 bad fights. This is one of my, if you were asking me to just like list top 5 favorite movies in general, this would be among them. So I enjoy it, but there's a couple things that hold me back. I said in the beginning, and I'll hold to it, in order for a horror movie to get a 10 out of 10, it has to scare me. And it did not have that moment. It fails the Bechdel test. Pretty aggressively.
But apparently, just one fun fact that I found was that there were actually 3 versions of this film that were made, and they were cut together. So it was 150 hours of footage, and they cut it together into this final version.
You're always looking for a post-credit scene, and this has got
What
one.
is it again? I feel like I saw it once.
It's Deacon who just like waves his hand in front of the camera and goes, "You will not remember the last hour and a half of what you have just seen."
Oh my god,
And
I
he goes,
can't
"You will
believe I
forget the
missed it.
contents of this movie."
Wow, I am ashamed of myself. I'm gonna
No,
go
don't
watch
be ashamed. It's your
I am
favorite
ashamed.
thing.
I think in terms of vampire movies, this needs to be a staple in your library. Or at least in your
Yes.
2U library.
Yes.
Stay safe, stay home, and watch What We Do in the Shadows. If you think that we killed those accents, so prove
Yeah,
us wrong.
obviously. Don't tell us we didn't,
Fool me
because I
once, shame
know.
on you. Fool me twice,
Strike 3.
strike 3.